Is this the hardest decision that Nintendo has ever had to make?
Ooh. All right, let's just get right into it. What are we talking about?
No?
All right, guys. So obviously, Nintendo's got some decisions to make. Andres, you recently put out a video talking about this. Was actually traveling the last week, and I was watching it on the plane. You're talking about like what their launch title is going to be and trying to figure that out because it's a tough decision, right? And it's something that has been looming in the back of my mind too. Like, I wonder how they're going to do this because it's like we've had Zelda as the launch title, but it's been in a unique situation, right? We had the Twilight Princess where it's like, well, it's coming out on GameCube, might as well release it on the Wii, and then of course Breath of the Wild, same thing. But the situation was a little different because, again, as we know, Wii U was not doing good at all. They stopped selling them, so you really had to, like, I think both of these scenarios you kind of had to, because as much as I love the GameCube and you guys probably do too, it didn't sell great at all. So you had to open it up to hopefully a much larger user base, and that's what they did. Then I think about Mario, 3D Mario, because that's on everyone's minds for a lot of reasons, right? Because Mario Odyssey, that came out October 2017. So by the time that we get to Switch 2, we're talking 8 years from a 3D Mario. Like, that's how long it's been. But then I look at the other side. I'm like, all right, well, what's the precedence here? The last 3D Mario we had that's a new 3D Mario, correct me if I'm wrong, as a launch title though, was Mario 64 as a new game. Because we had the DS, Super Mario 64 DS, but that's not a brand new 3D Mario game. Yes, there were some changes. You get to have some different characters, but I'm talking, brand new 3D Mario. It's like, holy shit. It's been almost 30 years.
Zelda's, you could argue that, well, I mean, if you go before the 3D era, right, then it's like, okay, Mario's more consistently a launch title.
Mm-hmm.
Because they launched the Super Nintendo with, what, Mario Brothers 3? Am I mistaken?
Super
I gotta
Mario
double check
World.
that.
Pack-in.
Was it Mario World? Okay, Super Mario Bros. 3 was an NES game.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
They put that on All Stars. Yeah.
But then Super Mario, what was it? Super Mario Brothers, was that the
Super Mario Brothers was the NES pack-in.
But does it depend on the region? Because wasn't Duck Hunt also like involved? Or no, Donkey Kong.
Well, is
For
Mario
the
Brothers
NES?
Duck Hunt, and it's on the same
Yeah.
cartridge. I have it up here behind me.
Okay.
So let me ask you this though, guys. I guess the point I'm trying to get at is like, hey, Zelda's done it. It was successful. Mario's done it. It was successful. Mario Kart's never done it. But if you think about it, and sometimes people forget about this, I don't think anyone here does or in the chat, but it's like the Mario Kart we're playing right now is still the Wii U Mario Kart, and that's been the longest gap ever since Mario Kart has come out originally on Super Nintendo. This is the longest gap between truly new Mario Kart titles. So we're all thinking like, yeah, dude, it's going to be 8 years since the last 3D Mario. That should be a shoe-in for the launch title. It's like, yeah, it should, in theory. But if you think about it, Mario Kart's been even longer. And then you got to ask, would Nintendo ever, would they do both? They have one at launch and the other in the launch window. I mean, they kind of did that a little bit with Switch. Switch came out in March. You had Mario Kart come out in April.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mario Odyssey come out in October. And technically the launch window is nine months that we've discussed. That's what they consider it to be, 9 months. I don't know why it's not 6 or 12, but I guess it's 9. So we could see it technically. What do you guys think though? Because that's the big thing, is what are we going to get? If it's not Zelda, or it is, if it's not Mario, is it Mario Kart? What's Nintendo going to do? They got big decisions to make, because something tells me they have these games possibly ready right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think Nintendo has a master plan, right? I think they're lining up some killer titles. I mentioned a handful of them earlier, right? So I'm not worried about the lineup. It's just kind of a curiosity of like how they're going to kind of position them. And I've talked about how I think Metroid Prime 4 is part of that, right? I think it's a cross-gen title. But I also, in that video, I talked about how I no longer, I've always hoped, but I don't think it's going to be a launch title.
Yeah, you
I
made
think
good
it's going to
points.
be it's going to come out early though. And
Mhm.
so in my mind, I think like a really good 1-2 punch is a really strong, popular multiplayer game like Mario Kart, maybe as a launch title, given that it's a
Mhm.
new game, right? You can't get anywhere else exclusive. And then 6 weeks later, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. That's a really cool single player experience, right? It's very different from Mario Kart. People will be interested in both. I think if you put 3D Mario and Metroid Prime 4 next to each other, there's a bit of overlap there, right? Most Metroid
Yeah.
players are also 3D Mario players. So maybe spreading those games out across the year is a great way to kind of like, I think it's just from positioning of pushing Prime 4, it makes a lot of sense. Get it out early, but not so early that it's a day one title shortly after Mario Kart. And then we have a good variety of single player and multiplayer. And historically speaking, 3D Mario is actually used more so for the holidays than it is as a
Mhm.
launch title.
That's right.
So,
That's
and then it
why
will
I'm
also be
thinking
very
that.
well. And
Uh,
either way, be it Mario Kart, 3D Mario, like they're both like both these games are gonna. We assume both these games come out next year. The movie's coming out, in 2026, right? And there's definitely going to be some cross promotion there. There's definitely going to be a sales boost coming. So I think just having Mario having a strong presence next year is definitely going to go over well for Nintendo.
yeah, I think Mario Kart would help build the Switch 2 install base faster if that was the launch title versus Mario. And I only say that because I mean you have to look at the sales. Like the proof is there. Because we all love Mario. We love 3D Mario, right? But it's not consumed as widely as Mario Kart is.
Counter
So
argument, though.
yeah.
Counter argument, right? Even I think just looking at the sales numbers itself doesn't tell you the whole picture, because I think there are certain games that people buy a system for, and then there are certain games people buy after they've bought the system, right? And
Mhm.
I think Mario Kart falls into that second category.
The one that you buy afterwards.
The one you buy afterwards, right? But like this 3D Mario game, I think it's gonna blow our minds, right? I think it's gonna be an innovative, revolutionary Mario game that's gonna be running on tech Nintendo has never really demonstrated before. And I mean Mario Kart too, but like if we just think about from an innovation perspective, while Mario Kart has done some neat things, 3D Mario is obviously the more innovative series, right? Like it's gonna probably more likely showcase the abilities of the console. So
Yeah.
that's something else to consider. Even though I feel like from a just like a variety perspective, a Mario Kart Prime 4 1-2 punch might be pretty good. 3D Mario, I mean, maybe those come out later. We get 3D Mario and Switch Sports 2 or something instead. I'm
Nate.
done for now.
So one thing is, I think regardless of which one's the launch title, I think they're gonna end up releasing within 6 months or less of each other, anyways. So they're both gonna really push the Switch. I think they saw what the 1-2 combo of Mario Kart and Zelda did at the beginning of Switch, and they're like, "Hey, let's just 1-2 punch it again." And we know they're not afraid to pound a bunch of Mario in a short period. It's literally what they've been doing like the last year, just tons of Mario. And I know there've been smaller titles, but even the bigger ones, I don't really think that like Mario Kart cannibalizes 3D Mario sales or vice versa. Especially when Mario Kart, for one thing, has already been proven it's a generation long evergreen title. So like
Hmm.
nothing's cannibalizing Mario Kart. They've kind of proven that. And 3D Mario, while it doesn't have the same evergreen type of sales as a Mario Kart for now, 3D Mario anyways hasn't, but it still is pretty evergreen. It still usually sells well for a few years. I do agree with Andres where he talked about how the 3D Mario might be the more technically impressive game to show off. It might show off more of the features of the system, but then that's also determined on what the features are and like what they actually plan to do with Mario Kart. Because Mario Kart will be the bigger seller. Mario Kart will be hey, when people hear the next Mario Kart's on this system, people are going to want to buy that system to play Mario Kart. It's going to be the hot thing. It's going to be a hot thing for a long time. That being said, I really want to hear what Landon has to say because he's Mr. Mario on this show.
Mario. I'm gonna flip Andres on his head real quick and just I'm gonna do the reverse.
Let's go. I mean, I'm just talking possibilities. Either one's good.
I feel like a lot of the time it also comes down to what type of game we're getting. And like with Breath of the Wild, it wasn't just a new Zelda game. It was the first ever open world, huge brand new take on Zelda that brought in people that didn't even like play Zelda. I know none of my friends have ever played a Zelda game. They all brought the game and they all loved it. And I think about that with Mario, and I'm like, based on some of the rumors that we've heard, it seems like this could even be like an open world type of Mario game, something that just takes all these locations and areas and smashes them into one giant interconnected world like Bowser's Fury did, and just on a grander scale. And I feel like something that massive could be the smarter way to start the system. And then I've also had the idea of just thinking you probably want a really strong single player experience right out the gate, something that you don't need to pay online for, something that you can just unpack your new Switch and play. And I feel like something like that sounds more likely to me, and then really just have a huge holiday blowout for the Mario Kart game. I also have like this taste in my mouth, like maybe Mario Kart 8's DLC is still a little too recent, even though it's been a year ago. They still want to get those sales out as much as they can with Mario Kart 8.
So you still think Mario Kart comes out 2025 though?
100%. I think both of these games are without a doubt 2025.
Sure.
But
if that happens, like I'm just thinking about like it's not just Mario Kart and 3D Mario, it's what comes out around it, because I feel like Nintendo wants to kind of balance things out, right? So like for example, when I was talking about Mario Kart being launch title, I'm like, all right, we need a good single player game to come out to complement it, which is like why I suggest Metroid Prime 4. But if we have 3D Mario's launch title, what's a good complement that's not Mario Kart yet, because they spread it out by a few months? Maybe Switch Sports 2, because we do have the code name for that.
Wave Race.
I do think there's something
Wave
else.
Race. Oh my god.
Race.
I wish.
I would, bro. I'll do Wave Race streams shirtless. Like that would be
Yeah, there
I'll
you
get
go.
a Mist machine. Like it'll be so
Oh
good.
man,
Yeah,
you're
just
gonna
put a life preserver on.
Guys,
Oh,
we're gonna
bro.
get a new Excite bike.
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
take it. I'll take it.
I want.
I think there's something else. There's
Not
something else
Nintenbyte
Nintendo's
suck.
not
I
going
want
to tell us
Nintenbyte.
yet.
Star Fox Online.
Oh my gosh.
Star
Or
Fox
Metroid Prime
Assault
4 online.
2.
Star Fox Armada.
Oh man, I remember when it was codenamed
Yeah.
that.
That's so cool.
Like they even had the synopsis, like Star Fox must join up with friend and foe, like in order to make the Armada, the Star Fox Armada. And I'm like, that's so cool. And then I see it change to Assault. I'm like, what is this? What happened? Like,
What happened? Yeah.
Now I will say on the Mario Kart thing, I feel like it also would make sense too if this Mario Kart game had a mode that was really, because I think a lot of people have been missing like that single player mode, like maybe a mission mode or like maybe like a little Diddy Kong Racing story. I think that would definitely secure it for a launch title. But yeah, I don't know.
I agree with you. Andres mentioned that too. You mentioned that in your video, right? And I was listening to it and I'm thinking, Diddy Kong Racing, man, if we could get something like that. And then like 20 seconds later, you said Diddy Kong Racing. I'm like, yes, this is what we need.
Yeah.
What we need, man. It's what we want. I also thought too, real quick, with Mario Kart, if that's a launch title, man, that's a really good way to sell a ton of controllers right out of the gate.
Oh yeah.
They've never done that. Like we've never had this massive multiplayer game to sell accessories right out of the gate.
That's a good point.
I'm using tilt controls.
Wow.
You were one of the few people that bought the blow up Mario Kart racer back on Wii days, right?
No.
Man. Wii wheel to it. Tilt controls.
Eric, what do you think, man?
Yeah.
What do you want?
Man, what do I want? I mean,
what will make you buy the console day one?
The fact that I have a generation day one Switch.
Okay. Me too, by the way. Me too, by the way. I've been holding back nearly OLED.
Compatible.
Bro, I was on the airport.
Wait. Whoa. You just said the games don't matter just because I have a Gen 1 Switch. Okay, but if there's no games to play that you want to play, why would you buy it?
I mean, because eventually there will be.
Oh, you
will be.
Like me, aren't you?
Well, no, there will eventually be games that I want to play.
Eric, all you have to say is like, I could play the old games on the new Switch and they'll run better.
He was doing under the impression that there was no backwards compatibility.
No, I was saying that you want backwards compatibility.
I do, obviously.
Like that would be the selling point because it'd be upgrading your current Switch.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Okay. But Yeah, no. I mean,
So you don't care.
no, I'm buying it no matter what.
Well, what
Because
matters more to
it's
you,
freaking
Mario or
awesome.
Mario Kart?
Mario.
Oh, well, there you go. That would probably be your answer
Because
then.
Mario Kart, I mean, I've played it. I've helped you
Oh,
a ton on it.
we
with
destroyed
with
the
Wii U.
original Wii U
but-
version. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of lost its luster for me a little bit.
We haven't had a new one since
Yeah,
2014.
yes. So
It's been
there's
a
also that.
decade.
There is also that. Maybe a brand new one would bring me back in.
You know, someone in chat just said something and it made me think of something. Baby Bear, good old Baby Bear, said, you know, if we have AAA launch titles, and I was thinking, like, well, we actually have to think about that. Because if we do have certain AAA launch titles, you may not want to launch a Mario with that. You may want to launch Mario Kart with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we're getting like Elden Ring on day one, do you want to release, or if we're getting Monster Hunter, you know, like these
Monster Hunter
massive
Wilds
single
Mario
player
Kart
games?
combo, hell of a
That would be
combo.
nice.
That'd be
That would
Hell
be
of a
nice.
combo.
That would be
Right.
a strong combo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't even think about that. I've just been
Little
thinking
bit
one
of a-
dimensionally with Nintendo. What do you guys think about that?
Steve, you're like for me, right? Like I talk about the Mario Kart thing, but like 3D Mario's is just as likely, if not more so. But you keep bringing up other points. I'm like, oh, you know what? Mario Kart would fit better with other AAA third-party games, and the controller thing, they would make more money at launch because
Yeah.
of that, which
Someone
is
in
crazy to
chat
think about.
also mentioned that you could probably pair your old controllers, Andrew Reynolds, and he's not wrong. I agree with him on that. You probably can. But if Nintendo gives us a reason to buy the new controller, right? For instance, if it's like
I'm going back.
hypothetically the PS4 controller to the DualSense, right? If it's a jump like that,
That'd be
I'm getting the DualSense.
Dude, can you
'cause it's a
imagine how
badass
good?
controller.
Like, so Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I feel like is one of the best games that showcases HD Rumble. Like, drifting feels so satisfying.
Mhm.
Like, if they have improved haptic feedback and Rumble and whatever else they throw in there, like, and then they take full advantage of that with Mario Kart, like, it's gonna feel so good. Like, I don't know if that's like a really big selling point because it feels like people always overlook like the advantages of Rumble because everyone buys like a third party controller. It's like, oh, it's the same. No, it's not. You
Yeah.
don't feel the Rumble, but you know, for me, it was a selling point. I'll
Yeah.
talk it up every
They gotta
video.
give us a
Don't
reason.
forget that Super HD hyper haptic Rumble.
Dude,
makes
if it
feel
rocks,
amazing.
I'll hype it up, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nintendo would be missing out on like so much money if they didn't give us a good reason to buy a new controller and made the Joy-Cons backwards compatible, which obviously I think they're going to be. I think we probably all think that, especially with what they just announced, right? That charging station.
Yeah, but what's interesting though is that based off what we heard from Vandal and the MobilePad leak, right, is that even they will be backwards compatible, but they're not going to be like really easy to use on it. Like you can't just slide them in. You're gonna have to get maybe like that stand, like you said, right? And so there's gonna be like a new version of the Joy-Con, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
I think people are going to be buying Switch 2 controllers. Like there's gonna be a lot of good reasons to do that, because if not, you're leaving money on the table. We know Nintendo, they don't do that.
Mm.
But let's throw this conversation on its head. What if it's not Mario Kart? What if it's not 3D Mario?
Here it is. You
Mhm.
Oh, for like the launch of Switch 2? Nah, Nintendo would be out of their minds if they didn't do anything like that.
No, I'm not
you
saying
know
it's
Metroid again.
no. I'm not saying it's Metroid Prime 4. I'm not. I'm saying it's something else.
Like what?
I don't
New
know.
South IP.
Well,
You don't know?
well, I honestly I have so much faith in Molotov that I think they could put together a game that would be so technically impressive, especially if it has like an online component to it. Like imagine playing like Xenoblade X, you know, but you can play at your party, you play like with your friends. Like your party is your friends online co-op. Like that would do so well.
Right, but
It's
I mean,
not gonna happen. No, I don't
like-
think it's gonna be a launch title. It'll probably be like a game
Yeah.
coming out like November or December or something.
Oh yeah, no,
right?
I would
But-
love for Monolith to do something like that. But I mean, like on purely speaking on the idea of like launch window, launch titles, you know, like
It's not bad.
you can have the most technologically advanced thing, but if it ain't recognizable to the casual market, it ain't gonna sell. Like it ain't gonna get its foot off the ground.
Well,
I don't know,
what
but-
what else could there be? Like, if let me ask this: if we don't get
Mario or
Kart,
Mario Kart.
Mario or Zelda or Metroid. Because I like what you said earlier. I like what you said in your video, Andres, too, about Metroid being a nice compliment title a few months after. I think that's a good idea. I could see that. So if it's not any of those, I do wonder, well, what could it be? Do you have another Wii Sports up your sleeve?
Luigi's
I
Mansion
don't.
4.
Kirby.
Well, I mean, I think Kirby's actually on the table. I just don't feel like they
Well,
would do that as a launch title.
Someone said in chat,
Yeah.
Donkey Kong Open World. That is something I was
Well, you know
partially
what?
thinking about.
Actually, that would do it.
I think it would
If
too.
that an open world Donkey Kong game, if out of everything like that would do it for me at least.
It would do it for me too.
But as
think
Nintendo,
people
like, you
miss
know
it.
what, this is gonna do really well. This is gonna get people to buy the thing. Like we've talked about open world Donkey Kong before. Like we even have like the canceled project. It's exactly what we've kind of dreamed about. It's Donkey Kong Tarzan. Like that would be. And it was made by the Tony Hawk Pro Skater team. Like they had like the whole sliding thing. Like they had the right team. That it didn't happen. It's canceled. It's never gonna happen. But man, that would be it.
I think that could do it too. I don't know what else really could. I mean, Pokemon Legends would be huge, but I don't think that's a launch title.
Yeah, and
Do you guys think that's launch?
No, because no way in hell Nintendo trust Game Freak to launch their console. Especially after that Scarlet and Violet mishap. And also it would be cross-gen, right? And probably not fully enhanced for Switch 2,
Right. So not like a true system seller.
Yeah, it's not going to be a visual showcase for Switch. It might look pretty, but it's not going to, it ain't going to be a next-gen looking game.
Nah, I agree with you.
I mean, it's probably Mario Kart 3D Mario. Like that's just what it is, Or Steel Diver 4K. But
I swear, if they launch the Steel Diver, no, Nintendo.
Well, I mean, maybe if we want to have a slightly more nuanced conversation about this, right, is that it doesn't have to be a game that's going to sell 20, 30 million copies. Nintendo has
with a theme controller that's crazy with H2O. Like Taker 610 said.
I mean, it'd be sick.
Yes.
Man.
That's it. I'll buy it for the Wave Race live streams.
I'd pre-order it.